Good evening, listeners, and you're very welcome along to Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 27th of March 2026, all with thanks to the Premier Credits Union in Thurles. Over the course of the next hour, we're going to be looking ahead to the weekend's sporting action in Tipperary. We will hear from Tipperary senior hurler Michael Breen in a few moments' time. We'll also hear from Brendan Cummins reflecting back on that win over Cork in the Munster Under-20 Hurling Championship on Wednesday evening. We'll speak to Tipperary minor football manager Kevin Mulcahy. They get their championship campaign underway on Sunday. We'll hear from Conor O'Donovan from Clonmel, who makes his pro boxing debut this weekend. And Barry Drake will give us the rundown on all things Greyhound racing to end the show as well. And we'll look ahead to the rest of the weekend sporting action here in Tipperary as well. So it's a busy show, and we're all kind of on a bit of a downbeat today across the country, really, after the happenings in Prague last night. Still so disappointed about that. But fortunately, if you're one of the many who's just mourning almost that defeat last night, we won't be talking about that on this week's show, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. But we're going to move on. We're going to get into the hurling straight away to start this evening's show. And after Wednesday night's game in Thurles, where Tipperary beat Cork 121 to 22 points, myself and Shane Brophy from the Nina Guardian caught up with Tipperary manager Brendan Cummins.
Yeah, look, we're happy with the battling qualities the lads showed. We knew Cork coming up tonight were going to be really, really good, and it's exactly what we expected. I think when we went to man up just before half time, it kind of probably helped Cork to get set up properly for the second half, which they did, and they, like no more than us in the first half, they got the jump on us and did really, really well. And then Jamie came out around the half-hour line, started getting on a few breaks and all, and got us a bit more momentum. And of course, the goal was the key, because at that stage we were on the ropes. And but the lads, to be fair to them, kept plugging away, didn't mind the scoreboard, never panicked. And thankfully, in the finish, we fell across the line.
In the first half, the lads got off to a brilliant start. Like Stefan got a few brilliant scores at the start. I think he went into a 5-point lead, but by half time you were down by one. Cork really dominated that kind of second quarter of the game. What was kind of the message at half time? I know the red card might have maybe changed that message, but Cork had gotten on top in that first half.
Yeah, look, the message is keep doing what you're doing, and don't end up getting too far up the pitch for all the world and crowding our space. And that can happen when you're playing with the wind. And in fairness, that second quarter of the match, the wind really got up, and you could see Paddy McCormick spoke out. She's a great slap for ball for a young fella. They were landing nearly just around the halfway line, whereas for the previous 10-15 minutes he was getting them there to their 45, so the wind had whipped up, and we weren't getting on the brakes. And in fairness to Cork too, they're going to have their period of dominance. So yeah, we'd hope we'd start the second half obviously better, but we didn't, and then that's where character shows up. And in fairness to the lads, they did, and we got that little break for the goal, which gave us that smell that we might have a good chance of getting across the line, and then in the finish thankfully we did.
Yeah, and there was a big kind of let off of relief, I think, by everyone out there, because it was such a hard fought second half. Like, nothing came easy at all.
No, it didn't, and the conditions as well, the breeze, it was absolutely freezing. Conor Fitz came out of free in front of me, his hands were red, he was blowing his hands and flapping them around, trying to get blood into his fingers so he could feel him to hit the ball. It was that real kind of, that tough teak kind of a match, and that's the way it was going to be tonight. And thankfully our lads on this occasion came out the right side.
You came out the wrong side of the referee. 22 frees, conceded 13 points. I think 3 for brought up for dissent. I suppose that's an area you can go after for next week.
Yeah, it is. Look, there's no doubt. And next week it could be a 21-yard free for dissent with the rule changes coming on the 28th. So we just have to be careful. But again, the honest endeavour that the lads showed, we want to play that bit on the edge. We want to try to hunt the ball down as best we can. And sometimes we overreach, and sometimes the ref's interpretation. But that's the swings and roundabouts of it. And in fairness to the lads, once they got, I think Davey got a yellow card in the first half. I think Stefan did as well, just for that. And but we just got down to business then after that, in fairness to them. And when we were 6 points down 10-15 minutes into the second half, when people were looking around wondering what's going to happen next, that's when the lads really showed up. And that's the thing that I take the most from tonight.
And I suppose to start off with a win, but also a hard battle like that, and having to dig it out, it's a great start for the competition in terms of there's more to come. You have your work in progress.
Yeah, we are. We've a lot of work to do. There's no doubt about that. But that's over now, and we go down to Fraherfield next Wednesday night. And Waterford are on an absolute high. They've won the Minor All-Ireland. They're really, really buzzing down there. They've a new management team in there. Everything is fresh. Everything is all systems go. So we have to be absolutely ready for that. And forget about this. We'll train again maybe tomorrow night. The lads will get the bit of recovery work done, and we need to settle down again for the next job.
And just in terms of getting Stefan and Oisin, like, would that have been the first time you would have had your first 15 together? This year?
Yeah, that's the first time this year we've had that opportunity. In fairness to Liam, like the boys need the opportunity to senior hurlers. The league has been very positive, I think, for Tip this year, again with using the younger lads, and Stefan played against Waterford. So as I always say, we rent these young men off of the senior setup. The seniors have to win, and we do our best to try to feed fellas up to that. And Oisin and Stefan and Jamie's inside there as well, and obviously Cahill, they've been really, really good when they come back into the group. No more than the example that was shown by Dara and Sam last year, if you think about it. You know, they really showed the template for the future generations to come, and we're just trying to help the lads to push on.
Was Adam Ryan is solely with you now, is he?
Yeah, Adam Ryan is solely with us. He came off tonight. He picked up a bit of a knock. He'd been nursing it for the last 2 to 3 weeks or so. So that's why tonight we knew we were only going to get a half an hour out of him, and he gave everything he had for that time. And hopefully he'll be okay to be available for selection for the Waterford game now.
Yeah, good start to the Munster Under-20 Hurling Championship for Tipperary there on Wednesday, and next Wednesday they go to Waterford, down to Fraherfield to play the Daisha Cappoquin Logistics Fraherfield, and Tip FM will be there. We'll have live commentary of that game with thanks to Clonmel Kitchen and Bedroom Centre. That's next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. But earlier in the week, I sat down and had a good chat with Tipperary senior hurler Michael Breen, of course, of Ballina, big part of the Tipperary team for over a decade now, and missed out on some time during the league with an injury to his calf, but he was back for the final 2 rounds, and I caught up with Michael Breen and talked all things about his injury, about 2026, and about looking ahead to the championship, which is just over 3 weeks away now. So let's hear from Tipperary senior hurler Michael Breen. I'm delighted to be joined by Tipperary hurler and Kellogg's GAA Cool Camps ambassador Mikey Breen at the launch of the 2026 Kellogg's GAA Cool Camps. This year marks 15 years of Kellogg's sponsorship, celebrated with the launch of Coolest PE Class competition. This nationwide initiative offers 4th and 5th class students from 15 schools the chance to win a dynamic Kellogg's GAA Cool Camp session at their own school. Mikey, how are you getting on?
Good. How are you?
Good now. Good to talk to you. We're just at the conclusion of the league now. Looking back on it for yourself, probably a bit of frustration. Calf injury kind of kept you out of a bit of action. How did you kind of find that period on the sidelines?
Yeah. Look, I suppose when you're on the sideline, you're still working away because you're just trying to do everything right to get back. And it was nice to get two league games in. At the end of it there. But yeah, look, injury is all good. It's nice to be back on the field training. So, looking forward to the 19th of April.
Yeah, would you be conscious at this time of the year when you do get an injury that you're kind of missing out on maybe a lot of the important training at the start of the year to get fully up to speed? Do you feel like you're kind of in catch-up mode when you do get injured at that time of the year?
Yeah, look, there's never a nice time to be injured, of course, but I suppose when you have to miss actual games and league games, it's a little bit frustrating at the time, but just have to take the positives, and the way I was looking at it is that I can come back from this a bit fresher as well, and hopefully it might help myself individually, just for this year as well. I haven't really had a break in a league. I've always wanted to play every game, and sure, look, we'll see. Hopefully it'll be positive.
Yeah. And how did you find the last 2 matches then, getting back up to speed? Do you feel like you're fully back to where you were, fully recovered from that injury?
Yeah, still work to be done, of course. I suppose I was maybe 4 or 5 weeks out with that injury. So, of course, there's more work to be done. But it was nice to get those games in to understand where the intensity is at, and particularly that game last Saturday night against Kilkenny, because they were really ferocious in the tackle, and I suppose they forced us into a couple of mistakes at times as well. So it was a good one to get, and just to understand where the level is at.
Yeah, that was probably a really good game to get, because there was not a fear, but there was a thought process in some that it could be a bit of a dead rubber, but it certainly wasn't that on the field. It was played at fairly intense stuff, and that's the kind of test you probably need, as you said, that kind of forced you into maybe a few mistakes and things like that, but that's much better than if it was just a kind of a softish kind of a game.
100%, and there was a good buzz off the crowd as well, which kind of made it an enjoyable occasion. But I suppose your two teams looking at still getting their preparations right ahead of championship, and while there was no league final, or a very slim chance of a league final to play for, it was still still lots to be gained out of that game.
Yeah, this is your, I think I'm right in saying your 13th season with the Tipperary senior panel. You wouldn't feel the time going, would you?
Not at all, not at all. I think, yeah, it was 2014 when Eamon O'Shea brought me into the panel. So yeah, it's jeepers, it doesn't be long going at all.
Yeah. And in those 13 seasons, I'd say you've played pretty much nearly in every position on the field, all the way from corner back to corner forward, I'd say. How have you found that? You know, that it's so different, some of the positions on the field, particularly in that full back line in recent years, has become a real difficult place to play, I'm sure. But how have you found that kind of moving around the last kind of decade, I suppose?
Um, yeah, like I suppose I've always played in different positions, be it with club, even from the minor ranks of playing, back into 2012, I would have been full back then. And even at that time, while I was playing full back with the minors, I was centre forward with my own club, so I was still getting, the best of both worlds. And yeah, look, once you're enjoying it and you have the bit of hunger for it, it's you don't mind where you play, and that's the genuine truth of it, because the way the game has gone, also you can be, any position from, whether it be the middle third or from midfield, half forward, or you can be asked to do a job anywhere on any day.
Yeah, and do you think, like on the outside looking in at intercounty level, the least likely place I'd like to play would be cornerback, because you're usually kind of out in an island with a fella, a lot of space in front of you, sprinting out to the ball. If it goes in behind you, there's a lot of space in behind you. Would you say that's the hardest position, or you obviously have a better perspective on it than I do?
Yeah, like some days when the space is there, and I suppose you have a forward in flying form, and his pace, and that ball is bouncing in front of him. It's of course it can be difficult, but sure, like you just have to play to your strengths, and stick to your own principles, that what the guys are, what Mikey and Liam are trying to instill in us in training. You just have to bring that in out in match day, and it's as simple as that. Like, you could look at any position as being difficult, really, if you
Yeah.
really break it down. Um, being in the goals, it would even be a difficult one, trying to puck out now to the setup that some teams have, or you know, even playing midfield, with the amount of ground you have to cover, and um, somebody being on a lot of balls some days, or that ball passing you by. So
Mm.
I suppose there's no one easy position, you could say.
No, definitely not. And you mentioned the word hunger there a few moments ago. Like, you're on your 13th season. What kind of motivates you now at this point?
Yeah, I suppose motivation is just to really enjoy it, and that's what I am doing. It's more motivation to, I suppose, to keep feeling that, and to keep the body right, and keep working on the I suppose the technical side of it. Keep the skill level there, work on the speed. Once them elements are there, and the enjoyment is along with it, it's very easy. Keep showing up and keep training.
Yeah, I'd imagine that enjoyment is a big part of it, because it's a big commitment, like being a intercounty hurler. You're looking after yourself all the time, all the trainings, things like that. Enjoyment is definitely a key part of that, because I'd say otherwise it'd be impossible to keep up with that kind of consistency.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a lifestyle, because as you talk about nutrition there as well, and things outside of what you do on the field, you have to love every part of it, and that's the truth of it. Like, it is a full-on commitment. We all go to work, then we go to training, and then it's home to bed. There's days like that where it seems like there's no break, or it's I suppose it's full on, but you have to love that, and you have to be willing to give that sacrifice. It's not easy, but jeepers, the rewards when they come are brilliant.
Yeah, and like, I'd imagine a big motivating factor is like looking ahead now to April 19th against Cork. Packed out Semple Stadium, 45 odd thousand people there. Like, that must be something like kind of nearly the Northern Star that you're following in the next kind of few weeks, kind of build into that. But that must be just class to kind of play in those kind of games.
Yeah, oh, big time, big time. And when you have a good tip following there, and the noise is loud, and I suppose we're giving them something to shout at in on the field, and we're feeling it from the crowd, then it's a really proud place to be. And we're hoping that we can make that I suppose exactly how you described there. A loud, um good venue where we can get a good result now and starting on the 19th.
Yeah, and like it won't be long coming. But if we do look ahead to that, and it's one of my favourite moments before a big match in a sold out place like that is at the very end of the national anthem where everyone just roars and the place is going really loud. What's that like on the pitch in that moment where kind of all the pre-match kind of pageantry is beginning to finish off, everyone's getting off the field and it's just the 30 lads and the referee left on the field? What's that moment like when the crowd are really up before a big championship game?
Yeah, it's fairly electrifying, but all you're thinking about is, right, where do I need to get to? Who am I marking, and where is that person at? So
Yeah.
yeah, just get into your position, and everything that's gone on up to that point is irrelevant because first ball that comes your direction, you want it to go right for you. Sometimes it doesn't, and it might take two or three balls to have a positive influence on the game, and you're trying to make as many of them as you can over the whole 70 minutes. So yeah, everything that has gone on up to that point is just irrelevant, and you go for it 100%.
Yeah, I can almost feel you kind of smiling even thinking about those moments. Like that is kind of what the training is for. And like what's the training like from here as we talk after the league leading up to the championship now? You've less than 4 weeks now, but what's the training kind of look like from here on out for the next 3-4 weeks?
Yeah, still tough. Like it's we've worked throughout the league, and we've, I suppose, maybe taken positives and negatives from the league and from different performances. So you're trying to tie all them pieces together now, and really look at where can we, make the biggest inroads ahead of Cork on the 19th, and it'll be enjoyable to watch those two teams play in the league final. But at the same time we have to get our side of the house in order, and just be ready to be really, really competitive and to bring out the best side of ourselves when it comes around.
Yeah, and like you've loads of experience playing Cork in the last 12 months, even throughout the league last year, championship, of course, the All-Ireland final. They're a difficult team to play against, I'm sure. They've big physical forwards and lads that can move very quickly over the ground as well. So what's that like, kind of been in the heat of the battle against this Cork team?
Yeah, it's like it's high energy, it's high pace, and it's a team that's looking to create space and exploit you. And if they get a sniff of it, they're capable of putting up a high score against you. So you just really have to be on it. And look, it's no different to the way we prepared last year. League final and first round of championship didn't go our way, but you just stick to your guns and you stick to your process, and you say, right, what are we really good at, and you try to do that as much as you possibly can, and then you look at your opposition and you say, how do we stop Cork? And it's very hard to stop a team with such pace. But look, it's a job for a few weeks' time, and that's what the next few weeks is going to be about now for us, and it's going to be enjoyable to get after those things.
Yeah, and going back to just talking about training and nutrition, you're going out with Charlene Maudsley, an Olympian. Looking at that Olympic level, have you learned anything from that side of things in terms of the very top of intercounty is a very, very high standard, but is that Olympic level, do you learn anything from that? Is that even another level again?
Yeah, of course, because I suppose I'd see how she would operate, in the gym, or whether it be a track session. You definitely get little nuggets from seeing others train, and no other than Charlene. Like, she trains to the highest level possible to be the best she can be within her sport, and I suppose that's what I'm looking to do as well. So if there's any little nuggets I can take from her end to I suppose help my own speed or whatever it might be, then yeah, there's definitely things I could see there.
Yeah, well, that speed would be very very handy come April 19th. Last couple, Ballina, your club at the minute, are in a good spot. Like I was looking at it last year, you had a very young team lined out last year. I think you had 10 or 11 under 21 players for a lot of your championship hurling games last year, and going very well in the football as well. Club seems to be in a good place at the minute.
Yeah, and it's the result of a lot of hard work from the club executive, and putting the structures in place, and then I suppose all the volunteers and coaches we have around the place then as well. But yeah, we're lucky and fortunate enough to have, I suppose, a number of young guys come into the team the last 2 years that would have played really competitive level, kind of getting to North A finals, and competing. So it's if we can hold on to those guys, and I suppose the fear is that you get lads that will, they might head away or whatever. And rightly so, I suppose lads get opportunities to go places, and travel. So it's trying to hold on to as many of those as we can. And we had a good crop last year. We managed to get a North title out of it, but
You
at
had
the
to
same
mention that,
time,
didn't
yeah. But at the same rule, when it came to the county championship, we didn't progress past the county quarter final. So that was disappointing. But look, it's, I suppose, maybe just a realistic indicator of where we're at. So, yeah, looking forward to getting back to those bites when the time comes around. But yeah, for now it's one focus.
Yeah, hopefully that's a long ways away yet, the club championship in Tipperary. But Mikey, thanks a million for talking to us. The very best of luck over the next few weeks anyway with training, and hopefully you're fit and flying come April 19th, and the very best of luck.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
And that was my conversation with Tipperary senior hurler Michael Breen earlier in the week. But now it is time for our first ad break here on this week's edition of Across the Line. But stick around, we'll hear from the Tipperary minor football manager Kevin Mulcahy and much more after these. And you're very welcome back to part 2 of Across the Line here on Tip FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 27th of March 2026. Now looking ahead to the weekend on Sunday at 2 o'clock in Latin, Tipperary take on Limerick in the Munster Minor Football Championship Phase 1 Round 1 encounter. And to look ahead to that game, glad to say I'm joined on the line by Tipperary minor football manager Kevin Mulcahy. Kevin, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul. Great to be on.
Yeah, great to have you on, Kevin. I suppose it's our first time talking to you on the show. You're new in as the Tipperary minor football manager this year. A Cork man originally, but vast experience in the world of coaching. Tell us a little bit about yourself, I suppose, and your journey to becoming the Tip minor football manager this year.
Well, generally, I've been involved in coaching in football from a very young age, obviously, but I started coaching quite young. And I'm from Ballinora, which is just west of the city. In Cork, kind of Ballincollig area. People might recognise Ballincollig, and probably influenced there by Kerry and West Cork people a lot, to be honest, who moved in the 70s and 80s to that side of Cork City for a lot of teachers and things like that. And football grew in that area, and a couple of those clubs are now competitive senior clubs, when it would have been almost exclusively hurling for most of the last 100 years. So I think that was a big part of my influence, and just the people, my dad, mentors, people who coached me, kind of drew me that way. So, and I've been involved, and it kind of drew me to the education side of it over time. I never planned to be a sports scientist or to get into strength and conditioning originally or any of that stuff, to be honest. But my curiosity of why I was failing as a coach, or that's what I perceived, you'd run up against walls, you'd get better at something.
Yeah.
Team wouldn't progress, then you try something else, and that was the pattern of it. So I ended up doing a degree in S&C through Stant, actually, having done a degree way previous to that as well in a kind of an adjacent world, which was training and development, but more in pharma and medical devices, where I ended up. So I was always into that kind of coaching and thought about teaching and stuff, never did it, but and then I traveled a lot, and being an S&C coach, assistant coach, I did a lot of minor coaching, actually, was my predominant. I probably did 10 or 12 years of Ballinora, doing underage 16 and minors mostly, so I had a good bit of experience there. And then just in Australia, America, ended up in other sports, as an S&C, as an assistant coach, and everything else in between. So that's been the journey, and it's kind of taken me. I'm actually doing a master's this year in skill acquisition in sport. Again, that's the curiosity and that's the drive, running up against brick walls, helping people get better, and so on and so forth. So that's the coaching journey, and it's been multi-sport. I was fairly multi-sport myself. And hurling obviously would be the predominant ones, like most of us. And then soccer, basketball more, not so much in the playing, but being in the S&C and the coaching side of things, has been a big influence in the last 10 years. I was lucky to be involved with Ballincollig. That's been a big help, dealing with those coaches and seeing what basketball does. And then boxing was another part of my life as well, which has been very helpful.
Yeah, and
so,
yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
The Tipperary thing then is just, I met a woman, and I suppose toyed with maybe living in Cork at some point, but then jigs and the reels, it just made more sense to move to Fethard, and that was about 2 and a bit years ago. And the Tipperary minor job wasn't really on my radar at the time. I started the Masters last September, and somebody kind of in the football Tipperary GA world just said to me that this is after coming up. Would you be interested? And my first thought was like, I definitely shouldn't do this. Like, I have too much going on. I definitely should not do this. And I changed my mind probably within 30 seconds of talking to this person. So that's kind of where, the attraction. I've worked at professional level with county teams in Cork, like the Cork Mogi team and development squads and stuff. And I love the club game, but just working with those lads, who really, really want it and are talented is a big pull. It's a big pull for a coach, to get involved. So then that was it. And we started the process then around November, really,
Yeah, and preparing a team, I suppose the step one is to get your playing squad nailed down, and that was done fairly recently, and captains and that named, and the team named already for Sunday. But how has that been? It's a fairly new look team. Looking at it, I think there's only about 6 lads who were on the panel last year that are on the panel this year. So, and last year's panel got to a Munster semi-final, beaten by Cork in extra time. So that's kind of how it goes at this age. A lot of lads move on to the next grade. So it's a fairly new look panel in there.
Yeah, we did a very extensive, arguably even a bit too long of a trialing stroke coaching approach. We didn't trial in the traditional play games. Now, we did play games. We played a few mixed, not AVB, but 15v15s. But we brought them in with the idea. I like the approach anyway in general, that you bring them in and try to coach lads as part of the process and see how they respond to being in a coaching environment against other players. And you can be fooled a bit like that too, because some players will look very good at training or not actually, but be very good in the 15. So you have to try and find that balance. And I thought overall it worked well. It's probably a bit elongated in the end, but it was for me as well in a way, because I didn't know those lads that well. I didn't know the lay of the land. Like, I've loads of people with me who obviously do.
Yeah.
And I was getting great information from Tom Fitz and Davy Byrne and those at the GDAs who were very on the ground in tip football as well. And that's all very helpful. But it just gave us a chance to coach with lads and, and even to get used to how I approach things, which seemingly was fairly new for a lot of them. So I thought it was a very useful process, and it probably means the squad is different than had we stopped in December and picked 36 then or whatever.
Yeah.
There was lads that came back that didn't make the hurling and stuff like that, and they've been a very positive influence on our squad, as one example. There was guys in and out of rugby and different things going on, and you've all this in the mix, and you're trying to balance everything then. And so I think we were happy in the end, to be honest. I mean, the thing that was very positive about it, like, there wasn't too many excuses. There wasn't, people really got a shot. So from that point of view, I think it was good.
Yeah, and it's great as well. I'm a North Tipperary man. There's a good few North Tipperary clubs represented, which is always good to see the spread of football. But it's Limerick this Sunday. Your only home game in the phase 1 of the Munster Championship, so an important one at 2:00 in Latin on Sunday. How are you fixed for this game? Have you seen much of Limerick? Do you know what you're coming up against here on Sunday?
I've plenty of video and analysis done in Limerick, but they've never put out their first 15 from what I can see. So I've found different really good players in 3 different games, but they've never played together.
Yeah.
Right. So I that might be their process to kind of peak last week and this week or whatever. I don't know. And they definitely have 4 or 5 standout players, 2 forwards in particular that are going to take a lot of minding. They're fairly strong and athletic. So we know a nice bit enough. We kind of stopped talking about Limerick last Monday. We did our bit on them, what we got to look out for. But it's, especially at this age, I mean, you want to leave enough space for the players to play, and it is developmental. So like Sunday is the week. Of course, we want to win, and we've kind of moved out of a developmental phase of training, be it skill, conditioning, etc., settled on the way we want to play and all that. And we want to win, but being the age it is, you need to leave some space for them to express and explore a bit more. And these 3 games in a row now will, things will be different at the end of it. So we can't complain. We've been well looked after. We've had enough challenge games. We've been on the road. The team has bonded slowly but surely. There's a great buzz with the lads. They're very easy to deal with, remarkably, so it's just about going out, and you hope that 11, 12 or 13 have good games. There will be always lads who don't, and you need a couple of subs to come on and make an impact. It doesn't really change from other football matches in that sense. But it is for everyone going into the unknown. Like, the truth is, this is the first true inter-county championship match for all but maybe 3 of the lads, right? The tournaments and development squad stuff are helpful, obviously, but they're not really this. So there is always that, and look, I think they're ready and they're relaxed at the moment, but we just have to be prepared for everything on the day. I think we'll perform well. We've been steadily getting better week to week, the last 3 or 4 weeks in particular. So that's all you can hope for,
Yeah, well, really looking forward to it. Kevin, I feel like we could talk for even more about your experiences and in coaching, but we'll have to do that in a later date. So for Sunday, the very best of luck to you and all the squad, and thanks for talking to us.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, Paul.
And now we're just going to take a quick ad break here on Across the Line, but plenty more sport to look forward to after these. And you're very welcome back to the third and final part of Across the Line here on Tip FM. Myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 27th of March, 2026. Now let's look ahead at what's happening around the county and around the world when it comes to sport in relation to Tipperary. Well, on Saturday at 12 noon, Munster are in action down in South Africa against the Bulls, and it's a big day for Tipperary's own Diarmuid Barron as the new in man makes his 100th appearance for Munster. So very well done to him, and the best of luck to him and all the Munster team tomorrow. His fellow Tipman and Lockmore native Brian Gleeson also starting that game tomorrow. And Ben Healy from Nina, we heard during the week, has switched allegiances from Edinburgh. He's gone on season-long loan to Newcastle in the English Premiership. They play the Exeter Chiefs tonight, and Ben Healy starts on the bench there, so could be poised to make his debut for Newcastle in the English Premiership this evening. Elsewhere in the world of rugby, the penultimate round of games in the AIL takes place on Saturday. In Division 1A, Nina Ormond are going in search of their first win at the top tier, and it's their final home game of the season against UCD. Cashel can secure their status in Division 2A if they can get a point against Old Crescent in Limerick. And in Division 2C, Clonmel start the day 4 points clear, and they welcome 4th placed Dolphin to Ardguiha. All those games tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. starts. In the world of camogie, both the Tipperary minor and under 23 teams are both in All-Ireland action on Sunday at 2 o'clock. The minor team take on Galway at 2 p.m. in Cranmore. Both teams already through to All-Ireland semi-finals there, but in the under 23 championship, it's the start of the group phase for them, and they're up in Dublin in Coolmine to play Dublin at 2 p.m. on Sunday, so the very best to look there. Ladies footballers are in action on Sunday at 2 o'clock. They take on Tyrone in Clonmel Sportsfield. They need a win, and they need Monaghan to beat Mayo, and then they need a winless Wexford to beat a Donegal team in Donegal. Donegal going for promotion, so it looks like it might be beyond Tipperary to get promotion, but they'll be looking to continue the momentum they built after beating Donegal last weekend. 2 o'clock start there on Sunday in Clonmel Sportsfield. A lot of soccer on over the weekend. It's all FAI Junior Cup in the world of local soccer, but probably maybe the standout fixture, maybe St Michael's against Kerr Park on Saturday evening at 7 p.m. in Cook Park. At the same time, BT Harps are hosting Old Bridge in Templemore. So a bit of crossover between the NTNDL and the TSDL over the weekend in the FAI Junior Cup. 6 games on Sunday there as well. We also have County League hurling and plenty more action around the county. So a busy weekend of sport nonetheless. But it's also a busy Saturday for a Clonmel man who is over in America making his pro boxing debut. It is a man named Conor O'Donovan, so remember the name. And earlier in the week, he sat down and spoke with Ronan Quirke about his pro boxing debut. Let's hear from Clonmel's Conor O'Donovan now.
I'm delighted to be joined by Clonmel's newest professional boxer, Conor O'Donovan. Conor, firstly, the best of luck with your chosen career. So talk us through your boxing story.
I started boxing at 8 years old. From the get-go, Martin Fennessy was my head coach, and from the get-go he knew full well that there was going to be something of me. Within 4 weeks he had my dad told that he wanted me in the boxing club 3 nights a week, whereas I only started 1 night a week of a Wednesday night from 6 to 7. And from there it all picked up. I had multiple exhibition fights before I was even 11 years old, and my very first fight at 11 years old was in the Park Hotel in Clonmel, and I won that unanimously in front of my whole hometown, which for me was a big thing for my first fight as well. From there I spent years going up and down to the stadium in Dublin trying to win an Irish title. Never got there, but never give up. And on my fourth year of doing that, when I was 14 years old, I won a national cadet title, and I booked a plane ticket. That booked me a plane ticket to the European Junior Schoolboys and Schoolgirls Europeans over in Albina, Bulgaria in 2018. After that, I came back. I was beaten for bronze over there 3-2 by Hungary, which we all thought I won, but we all get decisions like that in boxing. That's just the way it is. But from that, I came back. I packed in boxing for just over 3 years. I had a child. Life took a turn for me, really. I went down the path of addiction and stuff like that. But I am clean 3 years. Back boxing, in full health. I've now made a big step over the last couple of weeks and signed a pro contract with Last 10 Boxing Promotions, and I'm flying out to America on this Thursday to fight Saturday night, Saturday the 28th of March. I make my pro debut against John Medina, another professional boxer from the Bronx over in America. But yeah, as of now, that's kind of all I have story-wise.
So, like, there's a huge difference between amateur boxing and professional boxing. Yeah. You don't need me to tell you that. I mean, it's a huge commitment. You're going to have to be in the best shape of your life.
Yeah, and even at that, I'm in the best shape of my life. I've never felt as good as I do now, and it's down to the team that I've picked, which is Malone Bandon, Will Rosell, Dave Burke, Last 10 Boxing Promotions. They're getting me this opportunity over in America, along with Danny Whitey's pub over in it's an Irish pub in Boston, Danny Whitey's Croke Park. They're kind of big support along the way with this. But I've been put on a CES Boxing Promotions card this Saturday night, which is a big step for anyone to take as their first fight as a pro, because they're a big promoting company. So I have no choice only to be in the best shape of my life for this fight and hopefully get a knockout.
And what weight are you fighting at?
I'm fighting at 135 pounds, 61.2 kilos.
Okay, that's that's lightweight or low?
It's lightweight, yeah. Lightweight.
But like you've probably seen Shauna's story, and you see how difficult it is for her to get fights. She's in phenomenal shape. She's a quality boxer. She's a great punch, but it's about getting doors open, and it's not as easy as it sounds.
No, it's really not. And to be honest, I didn't think it was this hard either until I kind of took the big step into it. You kind of have to sell yourself. You have to post every day on social media. You have to, like, I'm watching Shauna every day. Shauna has, like, I know Shauna since I'm a child. We boxed out of the same boxing club as amateurs. But you kind of have to sell yourself, and Shauna's doing amazing at that, and she's still not getting fights and still not getting recognition. But then again, there's people out there, eventually they're going to recognise Shauna, and Shauna might get a big opportunity in life to take this big fight, and she might take a big fight and that could change her whole career, so that's, in my eyes, I'm just going to keep doing the best that I can do and stick with my game plans with my team, and hopefully I get the recognition that I need to get to. But like you said, it is hard. You got to be in the best shape of your life. You got to be selling yourself. You have to be able to sell tickets as well. That's a big one. If you can put bums on seats, that's a big one for boxing promoters.
You probably saw Mick Conlon fight at the weekend. Now, I'm a big Mike Conlon fan when he was an Olympian and even in his pro career. But it didn't really happen for him. I'm not trying to give you bad examples as you start your career, but perhaps to use that as sort of an example of somebody who had huge talent coming out of the amateur ranks, and professional boxing is just so different. And then you have other boxers who had mediocre enough amateur careers who turn out to be world champions.
Yeah, and it's, if you look at Michael Collins' amateur medals that he's won, he bet serious boxers. Yeah. He bet some of the top boxers in the world to win their medals. Now he's only got one of each here, there and everywhere, but he's a couple of golds and silvers and bronzes, but those medals were won by beating top boxers. And another thing, just to go back to the Michael Conlon fight, the fella that bet Michael Conlon, that's the promotion that I'm under now Saturday night. Right. CES Boxing Promotion. So their fighter Kevin Mulcahy is under them, which is Jim Birchfield. He's the head of CES Boxing Promotions. But that's the undercard that I'm fighting on now Saturday night. So that's what I mean by this is a big opportunity. Like they were on big stage last weekend. They were in the zone boxing, you know. So for me, that's like I'm fighting on their undercard now Saturday night. So what recognition could I get from this, like, you know? So it's a dream I've had since a child. So I'm going to take this. I've been taking this the last, like, it's very short notice. I've only done this 4 weeks ago. I stepped into the pro game. So it's all kind of rushed at the moment, but my health, my fitness, my boxing, everything is down to a T. We are where we want to be and where we wanted to get this fight on Saturday night. So I've got it now, and it's just a matter of flying over there and getting the knockout, hopefully in the first round.
Well, look, we're going to be watching your career with keen interest, you know, because it's a tough game. You don't need me to tell you that it's a tough game, but like the rewards can be phenomenal. But listen, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, we wish Conor O'Donovan the very best of luck in his pro debut over in Boston on Saturday night. But here on Friday night at this time, it's time to talk dogs with Barry Drake.
Tip FM's Greyhound News Update with Limerick Greyhound Stadium. Enjoy top-class racing at the Con and Annie Kirby Memorial each Saturday night and check out their dinner or group packages.
There's plenty of top-class greyhound racing action to look forward to over the course of the next couple of days, but we're going to start with the local action that takes place down at the Clonmel Greyhound Stadium. Tonight they hold their usual Friday night racing programme, which will get underway at 7:30. Some good trackers in action over the course of the night. Of course, one of the feature races comes in race number 7. And this is due off at 9 o'clock. It's an AOA 1 contest with a couple of greyhounds that have been in tremendous form in recent times. None more so than Burgess Bonnie, who's chasing a hat-trick of straight successes for Tipperary trainer Paul Carroll. Impressive last time when winning in 28.81. It really was a classy performance and that should go very well. Also, the likes of Slaney side Bess has been in good form for the Thurles Kennel of Derek Keogh, 28.64 winner last time out. But I'm going to side with trap number 1 here, Amigo Star. This one for Maria Kennedy and Thurles. This one caught my eye when winning around Shelburne Park last time. In 28.98, and looks like it should improve on that run. And from the rails draw, I think that's the one to beat there tonight in Clonmel. Certainly one to keep an eye on. Also in the following race, trap number 3, Bright Mustang, is an interesting runner for young trainer Molly Finn. Just touched off last time when beaten by the shortest of margins in 29.21. Looks a nice sort going forward for the young trainer. But trap number 6, Petulance, this one for Michael Murphy, the owner of course, and trained in Dungarvan in County Waterford by Adam Dunford, a 28.90 winner on debut. Looks like it has a bright future ahead, and certainly the one to beat there in that race. So that's tonight's racing action there at the Clonmel Greyhound Stadium, where the first gets underway at 7:30. Now switching our attentions further afield and having a look at Thurles Greyhound Stadium. They hold their Saturday night racing programme, which gets underway at 7 o'clock, and it can be a good start to the night for Tipperary trainer Pádraig Campion. He can take the opening race with Holly Hill Whisper, a greyhound that ran well on debut, and with that debut experience behind it now, should take all the beating. The obvious danger for me in trap number 6, Virgil Tips. This one for Kim Taylor was another one to run well on debut when finishing in 3rd position. Also on the night, a good A2 contest in race number 8 with a couple of real nice sorts in opposition. The likes of Hollyhill BB running from trap number 2 for Seamus Ryan and Roger Quinlan. No stranger to success around the Thurles Circus. Should go close, but I'm going with trap number 5, albeit a difficult enough draw. But don't rule out Whizzing Annie, who's got some good form in the book, dropping back in grade here, and despite the tricky draw in trap number 5, should take plenty of stopping there for the kennel of Adam Hogg there in Templemore. Back to the Clonmel action on Sunday night. They hold their usual Sunday night SIS racing programme. First race due off there at the normal start time of 6:04. In race number 4, keep an eye on trap number 1, the Ketchup Man, who returned to winning ways last time, owned by Keane Gleeson and Martin Kern down in Ardmore in County Waterford. 28.99 winning performance, should go very close. Obvious danger there, trap number 2, Fahrenheit Keane, who has a couple of fine winning performances in recent weeks for Lorraine O'Sullivan. They look the two to battle it out there in that race. Elsewhere, on Sunday night, of course, looking ahead to the A1 contest, which is race number 7. Last week we were sweet on the chances of trap number 1, Minor Mac for Mary O'Connor in Clonmel. 2 wins from 7 career starts, an exciting August puppy, and from the rails pitch once more, we're expecting more of the same on Sunday night. Back-to-back winning performances, certainly very much on the cards there, and hopefully Minor Mac can do us a turn once more. Also this weekend, of course, big racing action at Shelbourne Park. On Saturday night, of course, it's semi-final night of the Shelbourne Park Bookmakers Easter Cup with €30,000 to the winner. Droopy's Kathleen, of course, household name now in the world of greyhound racing, owned by Alan Tobbs, and top flat jockey Dylan Brown McMonigal. She set the standard in the opening round, and although below that form since, could well get back to winning form for trainer Robert Gleeson. But Lenny's Tank, of course, 29-37 winner last time, will have something to say about that. Both are expected to battle it out for outright glory in the opening semi-final. While in the second semi-final, over the course of the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about Lemon Orla, and she's won back-to-back races the last twice, winning by a head and a short head. Trained down in Cork and Castletown Roach by Tom O'Neill, of course, who's a brother to horse racing trainer John Joe O'Neill. And as I said, fancy odds the last twice, winning at 6-1 on both occasions. We're going to stick with her. Lemon Orla hopefully can complete a hat-trick of straight successes. I should say, in the second semi-final. So all eyes very much on that on Saturday night. And also down in Cork on Saturday night, the first round of the 1xBet Super Sprint gets underway with €5,000 to the winner. Solo and Go for Kerry trainer Liam Dowling, and owners, top Kerry footballers David and Paddy Clifford will start as anti-post favourite for outright glory and looks the one to beat. We'll have more on that next week.
And many thanks, as always, to Barry Drake there for his insightful and concise piece on the weekend's greyhound racing, looking ahead to the action both here in Tipperary and further afield as well. Well, that's just about all we got time for this week's edition of the show. Many thanks to you, listeners, for tuning in, and to our sponsors here on Across the Line, that is the Premier Credit Union in Thurles. And many thanks to all the guests as well for making this week's show possible. But for myself, Paul Carroll, that's all for this weekend, and that's all for this weekend's edition of Across the Line. We've no live games on air this weekend, and not many weekends we can say that, but it's just one of those weekends. And Ronan Quirke will be back on Monday evening to review all the weekend's sporting action here in Tipperary. So until then, and until next week's edition of Across the Line, it's bye for now.